Hello everybody, back in the car for another quick vlog because I'm in a parking space here, like at a shopping mall, so there's going to be plenty of people walking around. I am going to be looking around, probably also checking my mirrors and stuff like that, which at all does not mean that I'm parked somewhere illegally, so there's also that, just in case people were wondering, which some people apparently made assumptions about last time, but that's a different matter. Anyway, this is not what the video is about because a while back, I think I talked a few times about my father's dementia and stuff like that, and how his fiance is kind of in the way of everything. And we were just kind of hoping, because they did put him on a list to go into a nursing home because of this dementia. He can't just live on his own anymore, because sometimes he wanders off in the middle of the night, or just, I don't know, he could do dangerous things like leave on the gas and stuff like that, or forget to close things. It's just dangerous all around. So he's on the waiting list. And yesterday I got a text from my brother, and he's like, oh, this person from said organization where the place that he's on a waiting list on called me, and they're going to call you too. And that's all he said. So I was like, okay, what are they going to call about? And they didn't actually reply. And then I got the call from that person. And of course, I'm not going to mention any names and stuff like that. But okay, so they called from the organization where he's on the waiting list to get an apartment. And they were like, oh, hey, we asked for your number from the fiance because your father was okay with us contacting you. So I was like, okay, this sounds interesting already. Wasn't quite sure what the point of the call was going to be, but they were like, oh yeah, we're from the organization and we are with the social needs team. I think if you translated that would be the name of their team. And there's two of us here, and your father is one of our clients, and we just wanted to contact the family because he had indicated that his fiancée was his main point of contact, but we always like to also talk to the family about stuff like that, because if there is a family, we like to know what they think and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, that's nice that they actually contact us, and we had a pretty good conversation, I think, about 20 minutes. And it was all about like what our experiences was like with him deteriorating, with her getting in the way, and if we noticed anything suspicious with her, because they had apparently also spoken with her and had their doubts, which most people do when they talk to her. So like, I need to talk to the son and daughter to see what's going on. And I definitely confirmed some of their suspicions, and also talked about a few things that I thought that was weird and that they hadn't noticed yet, so they thought that was good to know as well. And the basic idea now is that whenever we have some concern about him, we are going to contact them instead of contacting his fiancée, which I never did anyway because I never answer her calls. I don't need to talk to this woman. I don't want her anywhere in my life. It's bad enough that she's got her like hooks in my dad and that sort of thing, and that he's allowing it. But I just don't need that in my life. It's like, okay, as soon as he has a spot in that nursing home, I had already heard from a couple of my coworkers that the people who work at nursing homes will always contact the family, and they'll make sure that everything that happens in the nursing home is above board and stuff like that. So we had hoped that once he ended up in a nursing home, that we could come visit him and we would be able to decide more about what happens to him and stuff like that, because she took care of his finances, which is kind of suspicious. Not personally, she handed over his finances without our knowing to a bookkeeper that she knows, so probably also somebody that she talks to regularly, so that's already very suspicious. And I also told them about that, and they were like, yeah, that's also kind of strange, we might want to do something about that. But the main takeaway was that whenever I had concerns, or my brother has concerns, we can contact them, and they wouldn't have to talk to her anymore. And they go visit him now until he's in the retirement home. They go visit him every Thursday and Friday afternoon to see how he's doing with his medication. Which somebody does come and check on him daily to make sure that he takes his daily medication. So it's not like he gets a checkup on his meds once a week, because honestly I think he would forget. So there's already somebody coming in every day who really waits around to see if he takes his meds, so that's good. That was already quite good. He has a housekeeper right now who's taking care of things. And then those people that come and look at him on Thursday and Friday until he has a placement, which can take a while because the waiting lists for retirement homes and nursing homes are very long. And generally speaking, the idea of the government as well these past few years has been we're going to keep people at home as long as possible. And in order to do that, they also reduced the amount of spaces available. I think at nursing homes there's been less space, or at least less people working there. They're trying to keep people at home as much as possible. Whereas before, during the boomer generation, I think the main idea back then was if a person reaches a certain age, they just go to a retirement home. Like a lot of people went there just because that was the thing to do. Just like a lot of people in the US go to college, that type of thing almost. Like not everybody went to a retirement home, but a lot of people did. Like as soon as they were getting a little bit too old to do their own household chores, their adult children would then go, oh, we'll put you in a nursing home and everybody will take care of you, we'll visit you and stuff like that. So that used to be the thing. And these days it's more like going back to leaving people independent for as long as possible, which of course is great as long as you can do that. But if you can't, then you do have to go to some nursing home, but the waiting list is at least a couple of months to half a year, maybe a year, depending on which place you've signed up for. He really needs to go there, as much as he doesn't want to. He just can't live on his own anymore. It's too dangerous. So we're waiting for a spot for him. I was going to go talk again about how he allows all of this. So when we were introduced to her, this was just before the pandemic hit. So this will be late 2019 because it was still Christmas. We saw her for the first time. And initially I thought, oh, he's got a friend at the place where he is right now, which is great because I didn't have a lot of time to go visit him, but I had seen him more often because he had just moved in there a couple months prior and we were just decorating his house. So I would occasionally go with him to all sorts of different stores, pick things that he needed, like, I don't know, a couch and stuff like that, and a printer and curtains, all these things, right, that he needed. So I thought, okay, he'd been talking about this woman that he had met. So I was like, oh, he's got a friend, that's good. She lives in the same building, so they can hang out and keep each other company. And we met her, and she was not great. And I already made a whole video about that. And the thing that struck me the most, aside from the fact that she was annoying and crazy, is that he just allowed it. And he just kind of sat back and just sat smiling at us as she was getting in our faces and asking super personal and uncomfortable questions, and then pretending that she could get the answers from the ether or something because she's of course a psychic, and all this weird stuff was happening, and he just kind of allowed it. So we were kind of disappointed in that. And throughout the year, he was still very lucid. He hadn't shown any signs of dementia at that point. So we were like, what is he doing? And at one point he met with his brother, and he told his brother, like, oh yeah, I don't understand why you choose your kids. I would choose my partner every time. Because his brother, our uncle, had said, like, I don't know what you're doing because your kids want to see you, and they just don't have, they don't really have a good relationship with this woman. You got to be able to do something with that, like that type of thing. And I would always go and choose my kids because those are your kids, you know. And my dad said nope, he just wanted to hang out with her, and because she was there all day long, and we only came over a couple times a year. Of course, now we came over even less because of her being there and in our faces the entire time. Now, my brother is a different type than me. He can sit down and ignore everything that's being said to him. He literally just says, oh, I go sit there, and I just say, I don't know, whatever. And if I want a cup of coffee, I go get it myself. And then after a while, when I've decided I've been here long enough, I go home. That's how he does things, and he can really lock himself off from stuff like that. Not so much me, I can't do that. So I would definitely, it's kind of like an energy vampire. I don't know if you believe in that type of thing, but some people can just make you tired just for being in the same room as you, and she does that for hours on end. And like last time I was there for Father's Day, don't know if I mentioned that, if I talked about that. I don't think I did, maybe I have, but just in case I didn't. So I went there for Father's Day. That was just a couple weeks ago. And after about 10 minutes, I had gotten a cup of coffee because my brother made me a cup of coffee because my dad was struggling with something, because of course he's got the deterioration. So he just can't do everything as well as he used to. He was walking around looking for, he described it as cups that only needed whipped cream or something, and they were supposed to be in the fridge or the freezer. But it turned out he was just looking for a cheesecake, even though that was nothing like what he described. But anyway, so we were there, I had a cup of coffee. After a while, he sits on the couch and he picks up his phone and he's like, okay, is there anybody got a problem with the fact that I'm going to call her now to ask her to come over? And I was like, well, she does need to come over on my account. I don't really need her here. I mean, it's Father's Day. And he goes, well, then too bad, because she's coming over anyway. So then I said, okay, well, then I'll just finish my coffee and I'm out. You know what I mean? So he calls her, and one of the first things he says when she picks up is, oh, my daughter's about to disappear. I'm like, okay, look, this thing is happening now. And she goes, oh, what do you mean? And he's like, well, she's going to go away, because when I said you were coming over, she said she was leaving. And then she starts like yelling at the other end of the phone about how terrible that is, and what terrible people we are, what terrible person I am, of course, and how much she had done for him, and how thankless we were, blah, 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 this whole story that people like to pull on you whenever they feel like you're not giving them enough praise, I guess, for things that we didn't ask for, but that's a whole different story. But meanwhile, my dad had actually put the phone down on the table, like he was still looking for the cups that only needed whipped cream. So after a while, my brother's like, she's still talking to you. So he like picks up the phone from the table, and just, instead of asking what she had said, like, oh, sorry, I missed what you were saying, he's like, I'm looking for this thing. And she's like, oh, what? Oh, the thing in the fridge, it's at the bottom, it's right there, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, thanks. And then he hangs up. So that was actually kind of funny. And he hangs up the phone and he goes, women, and just goes back to whatever he was doing before. So before, he was able to consent and say that she was such a great person, and now I think it's just kind of like she's just there, and I don't think even she wants to be with him anymore, because she's talked plenty of times about how she wants to go to Greece and stuff like that, and then how he can then just come over for holidays and stuff like that over in Greece. But the thing with people being in nursing homes is they do not go on holiday, because they cannot go without them being chaperoned. They need people to take care of them all day, every day, and they need watching. They need to have their meds taken at some point. And so that would mean that somebody would need to come with them to make sure that happens. And people in nursing homes do not generally get chaperoned to go to Greece and stuff like that. It's not something that happens. So, and most people know this. It's just like a common thing that as soon as you're in a nursing home, in a department where that means that you need extra care because there's something wrong with you mentally, because you're deteriorating and stuff like that, you know that you're not going to go on holiday, because it's just not possible anymore. And I'm pretty sure she knows that too, but she just says that to string him along, to make sure that he doesn't like get upset. And then I'm pretty sure as soon as he is settled in the nursing home, she's going to start appearing less and less and move on to another guy. Because I honestly do believe, even though I don't have any evidence, of course, but just the way that she wormed her way into his life, and the type of stuff that she was talking about immediately a few months after meeting him, like immediately talking about marriage and stuff like that, and just dropping stuff like saying, oh, it's not about the money, it's not about the money, even though when somebody keeps saying that it's not about the money, that's exactly what it's about. So I think she's just going to find a younger guy who is also equally willing to hang out with her, and who buys all of her crazy stories. Anyway, so now that we have these contact people, that means we don't have to deal with her anymore, because they already said, like, okay, we can make it so that you don't have to talk to her anymore. If there's something going on, we can like kind of get in between, like a middleman type thing. And if you need something communicated, you can tell us, we'll tell her, and back and forth like that. So that's great. That's a big relief as well, because I was expecting that to be the case once he had moved into a nursing home, but now we're also getting that before he even moves in there, because they're from the same organization. So as soon as there's changes, they're going to contact us, and as soon as we see something or want to hear something, ask questions, we can contact them, and then we have somebody to talk to who is sane, which is great. So that's a great relief for us as well. Also found it kind of funny, because they called my brother as well before they called me, and they asked him, like, do you want to like have like meetings with us and stuff like that? Do you want us to keep you up to date, stuff like that? And he'd said something like, oh no, that's something from my sister, I don't do that, she's better at that type of thing. So I was like, okay, of course, that's easier to not get in like or to interfere with that type of thing. He just doesn't want to do that. I kind of figured it would be like that. Like, I'm not surprised that he would say that. I just thought it kind of funny that also the way that she told me that he had said that, she kind of thought it was funny too. And she's like, yeah, it's usually the daughters who do this type of thing, you know, that tend to get involved with their parents, the Asian parents that end up in a nursing home. So nothing unusual there. And I also said, well, he's very much like his father in the sense that everything's probably like dealt with very easily, and oh, we'll just take care of it later, and it's fine, we'll see about that later. My dad's exactly like that, and my brother's the same in that sense. That's another story I want to quickly tell. Like, this isn't about my mother, it's not about my father anymore, but still a fun story. just to illustrate how both of them are kind of very laissez-faire. My dad, first of all, if I want to quickly illustrate how he does that, at one point he was living with his girlfriend of 17 years, and I get a text which basically said, she kicked me out, that's life, I'm now in my mobile home, and talk to you later. That's his announcement that he broke up with her, and he broke up with her because he started messing with the neighbor that lived below me, and that's a whole story in itself. I don't know if I've talked about that. I think I may have mentioned that at some point. But he's just like, oh yeah, she kicked me out after 7 years. Oh, yep, that's life, that type of thing. I'm like, you're 70 years old, you've got all sorts of health issues. Are you sure you want to break off a 17-year-old relationship now? She loves you and everything, or what are you doing? But okay, he's just really casual about these things. And my mother has lived with the same man for 15, maybe 20 years by now. I don't know. It's been a while. In any case, they're not really married, but they have one of those common law contracts because they've lived together for so long and stuff like that. So her kind of husband and her had apparently also had a fight at some point. So she texts me, hey, we had a fight, we're breaking up. I need a house in your hometown because I'm moving back. And I was like, okay, great. You've got absolutely nothing. You have, maybe you should have some money if she were to sell the house, because they bought a house together, which was paid off. So at least they would have that. They could maybe try buying something, but even in this current market with that type of money, you wouldn't be able to buy anything anyway. So I was like, well, panicking. Okay, I said, I'm going to go and register you for all these different home organizations that maybe be able to get you like a rental apartment, and like maybe you'll get like bumped to the front of the line even though you've never registered for one of those companies before in your life, to maybe get an urgency placement because of this like urgent situation. She's like, okay, good, do that, that's fine, I'll see about that. And I'd already shown her a couple apartments. This is all the same day, because I start running immediately to try and figure out if I can help her in some way, because she is very casual as well. She thinks she can just come back over here and walk up to a real estate agent or something and look at a couple houses and say, I want that one, and then move in like next week or something. That's kind of her idea of how things should work. But it's not how it works. Like I said, the current housing market is a little bit too choppy for her to be able to immediately buy something. It's very expensive right now, as well as renting. You need to have been registered at a company and build up waiting time, which is like in months that you have to build up waiting time, and then you end up on a list of a whole bunch of people that are also interested in a certain house. If you've been following Marvin's channel, then you'll know that he talked about that as well. He was at the top of the list because he had always like stayed signed up for this type of company, and then when he started looking for a house, he was at the top of the list because he had the most waiting time out of everybody. And my mother would have ended up at the bottom because she had nothing. So I was like panicking, trying to find her something and showing a couple of places that she might be able to get, and she's like, yeah, do that one, like picking a couple of different places. So I started applying for those locations, and I left her phone number on a couple of websites and her name and stuff like that so they could contact her about these places. Next day, she sends me a message saying, tell them to stop calling me because we've made up and everything's fine now. And I'm like, are you sure about that? Like that gift from, what's his face? John Cena, where he like sticks his head through a green screen. Okay, so because this could happen again next week and you'll have to start again from scratch, and if I cancel everything now, they'll probably not relieve you next time and stuff like that. No, it's fine. We've made up and it's fine. So that had to stop all of a sudden, which really annoys me because I set her up for these organizations that they were going to call her and discuss her situation. And now if she has the same thing happening again, her and her common law husband are very opinionated people, and they don't tend to agree most of the time. So I do foresee this happening again at some point. If it happens again and I try to contact these organizations a second time with the same type of story, like, oh, it's an emergency, can you please help my mother, they're probably not going to be too interested this time, because she didn't answer any new calls and she just kind of stopped responding because she thinks it's okay, but she doesn't have the foresight to maybe think, hey, maybe this could go wrong and maybe I should prepare for something. She's not prepared for anything. And my father's the same way. So both my parents are like that. And my brother's kind of casual. He's a little bit less casual than them, but he also has that same type of casual behavior most of the time. Everything just comes and goes as it comes and goes. I think I'm the only one who tends to stress out about these things. So interesting. Anyways, that's an update on my dad and also a story about my mom. Hope you're doing well in the meantime. I hope to see you in another video. I'll probably see you on Tuesday for Stardew Valley, and we'll also have Minecraft on Friday. Hope to see you then as well. Meantime, make sure to stay happy, healthy, and safe. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.